You know, I think it's about time. It's time for the Zweihniaks to rise up. Our first set of quarterfinals in the Starladder Budapest Major, we had Team Spirit defeating Old Demons, finally getting the monkey off their back, and humiliating Falcons in 2-0 fashion. And then on the other side of the bracket, to the shock of really nobody, Vitality didn't even seem bothered by a Senzuless Mongolz, the reign of Controles unfortunately petering out at the supreme moment. But that's fine, because the first series really gave us a whole lot to chew on, so let's not waste any more time. Donk, he's here. Is Zweih just a one-map phenomena? And looking forward, is this not slated to be one of the best major playoff games in history? I don't know, but we'll get there. If you guys have been enjoying this kind of content, you should be leaving a like, leave a comment down below, and help me start on the next goal. We're heading straight to 20k, so subscribe to the channel today if you haven't already, and help me start making my way towards that. Also, if you're on mobile, make sure you hype the video as it helps out immensely in the YouTube algorithm. Without any further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so at the top, I want to kind of justify the fact that Falcons were the favorite going into this series, because now that they've lost, a lot of people are coming out of the woodworks to kind of bring up the classic narratives. We all acknowledge going into this kind of series that one, Mongolz and Nico have real demons in the majors. They have demons in big games in general. Despite that, on the other side of the coin, you have Spirit, who are struggling with the form of Zweih and Tanir. They also do not win against Mongolz and Nico ever, have not done it with Dong since he broke out. And even worse, this was a veto from hell for Team Spirit, because they permabanned Inferno, which is Falcons really their biggest weakness map-wise. There's nowhere to go. We were all speculating like, okay, well, maybe our Spirit, are they going to try and float like a train pick? No, they go straight into Nuke, Dust 2, then Ancient Decider. Nuke is a map that Spirit haven't been good on lately, and then Dust 2 and Ancient favor the Falcons. So at this point, it feels like this is so far in Falcons' favor. They just have to play to just an average level, and then if Zweih and Tanir don't show up, which is pretty likely, then that series is over for Spirit outside of Donk doing heroics. So all of that is to say, yes, I'm well aware Falcons could have fucked this up. I assumed the Falcons fuck up, though, wouldn't come in this series, it would come in the semifinals against Vitality. And it's just impossible to legislate for the fact that we would open up on Nuke, and Falcons would just get punted out of the server by Spirit 13-4. Just totally blanked on the opening map, especially on their T side, when they would try and go into Zweih over and over. And Zweih, who again has been bad for Spirit pretty much the entire time outside of Cologne, would not only rise to the moment, but would play his second best ever map at LAN against Falcons to open up this series. Like, Zweih wasn't just good, he was unstoppable in the first half. 18 kills, 8 deaths, a 2.39 rating. He had a 4K hold on the A-bomb site. He ended the half with an incredible ace on the A-bomb site. He had great multi-kill impact elsewhere. It gave Donk a lot of freedom to move. Zyro contributed with a bunch of big rounds as well. Meanwhile, on the other side for the Falcons, you had a good start out of Kioske and Mongolz, but Nico struggling. Tesses, only 1 kill through the first half. Kicksand, 2 kills through the first half. The Falcons' T side was just so dull and lacking in just about any nuance. It felt like every gun round, their plan was to default outside and play around what kind of picks they could get in the openers between Kioske or Mongolz. Very rarely, if at all, did they decide to pressure ramp. I'm pretty sure they only did it one time on an eco. Outside of that, there were no plays into Tanir. Most of the time, they were trying to bend into A splits through mini, which most of the time were successful in picking off Donk or Chomper in that mini area, but then Zweih would stand tall or Zyro would rotate in for the clutch. The only 2 rounds that Falcons won outside of the pistol and the anti-eco conversion thereafter were gun rounds that ended almost instantaneously after Kioske and Mongolz got insane openers into multi-kills. The only gun rounds that the Falcons won were not off of structure or protocol, it was off of individual excellence and space taking by their insane aimers. It was basically pugging. They would just throw their outside wall smokes and see what they could find thereafter. There was no other nuance added into the situation. And here's the thing, that's fine. Falcons have won plenty of games doing just that. Just berating teams, beating them into submission. Mongolz taking space, Nico picking apart the extremities, Tesses coming through with their great clutch, Kioske being so consistent on the rifles. They will overwhelm you with their insane depth of talent. But what happens when things get close? Falcons protocols just simply fall behind. You'll see it in even bigger contrast on Dust 2 in just a minute. but so often this feels like a team of individuals, not a team. Again, to make the perfect contrast, you have Furia, who are not that far behind in terms of firepower, but play 10 times, 20 times, 50 times better as a unit and minimize mistakes. The Falcons are a pug stack at the best of times. And so we get a situation where Falcons are either winning games by blowing the backs out of the opponents and like 13-5ing anybody, but as soon as it gets close, that's when they get strained. And again, to bring it back to Zweih, this is such a commendable performance. He has been easily one of the most criticized pieces that was moved in this past offseason. Because again, outside of Cologne, he's largely been a net negative to this Spirit roster. But yet, once again, here we find ourselves in a major situation when Spirit needs somebody else to step up. It's the support player playing Magic's spots that has a godlike nuke game to set them up in a must-win best of 3. I have no idea what possessed Zweih in some of these rounds. His positioning was amazing. His awareness was amazing. The way he took fights was clinical, and he was accurate as a motherfucker with the M4A4 especially. This is a guy that oftentimes the biggest criticism I can give of him is that he doesn't seem so aware of his surroundings. His game sense and his nuance just isn't working. He's getting shot in the back on CT side or just getting preyed on these solo bomb site holds. But that was just not the case. Everything was flowing, and we got to see the star level out of him that he would showcase on Namiga in a way that we just simply haven't seen on Spirit. Now here's the problem, right? Is looking forward, is he going to be able to reproduce this performance in this series? Because this wasn't just a good series from him, it's one of his best he's ever played. So if he regresses to the mean, which he kind of did for the T-half on Dust 2, we'll talk about in just a minute, how much more pressure is that going to put back onto Donk and Zyro to be extraordinarily good? That remains to be seen. But for Falcons right now, in the context of the series, this was your map pick, a map you were overwhelmingly favored on. You had everything in your corner, and you just got hit in the fucking mouth and knocked on your ass. You're 0-1, you're going into Dust 2, you need to find stability. And thankfully, Spirit would give it to you in spades. Because Spirit are not a zero-sum game in this series. As well as they played on Nuke is as awful as they played to open up on Dust 2. And this T-side was fucking diabolical. Not just in terms of overall fragging, which was unbelievably bad. Chopper, 1 kill in the first half. Zweih, 4 kills and 11 deaths after just being so unbeatable on Nuke. He crashes right back to earth on this T-side opener. More on him in just a minute though, don't you worry. Tanir, 7 and 9, just not really getting it done either. It was all Donk. The entirety of their T-side success on Dust 2 was in the context of what Donk could open up for him. He had 17 fucking kills in the first half. He had one of the most ridiculous eco wins I have ever seen. They're bursting through into this late cat hit, right? And because they faked mid to B, Munacy's over by car takes a pot shot down through the mid smoke. At the same time, Tanir and Donk are pushing through the cat wall over towards Gandalf. They hear that shot, see Munacy kind of through the edge of the smoke. Tanir hits an incredible dink with a Tech 9 that knocks Munacy down to no health, allows Donk to clean him up with the pistol in hand. I believe it's a P250. Donk picks up a deagle later on, but Munacy just gets instantly vaporized from car because he took 1 pot shot. And Munacy is famous for doing that. He will take shots through smoke. He'll take shots that don't seem to hit because he's just a volume of fire style opper. And listen, that's great. That's his calling card. That works. This is just one of those times that he got burned for it. It's not even really his fault. Anyways, Munacy goes down. The Spirit players keep pushing. Tezis and Nico take picks apiece on Long and on Cat. Nico walking up the ramp gets sat down by a Zyro P250 headshot. Donk swings past him as the bomb goes down, now in a 2v3. Manages to pick up Nico's M4, which has like 7, maybe 10 bullets left. Tezis doesn't kill him on the jiggle from Long. Donk manages to maneuver back up onto site. Takes out Tezis with a couple of his precious M4 bullets. I think he has like 3 or 4 left in the mag. Switches to the Deagle and fucking lands his kickstand with a perfect pixel Deagle shot. Takes out the M4, takes care of Kioske, wins the round. Just shit that only Donk can do. Anyways, outside of these Donk escapades, frankly, Spirit are struggling. They get into the second half, they can't convert the pistol round, they lose the force buy on the second. Even worse, they lose the very first gun round on the fourth. And this is where I'm starting to get concerned, because not only 1, it's about to be a 5-11 scoreline, but 2, Falcons are leaning beat. And Spirit are just leaving Zweih on an island with maybe one guy mid and stacking all their resources, Donk included, towards A. And that makes sense because you want to defend the cat and the long splits, and Donk has to pick a side to sit on. You're trusting Zweih to solo anchor B, but here's the reality. Nuke was supposed to be an aberration. Zweih solo holding B should not have been as effective as it was later on in this half. And right here, you see more of what I expect, where Zweih gets like 1, maybe 2 picks, dies, B bomb site is now lost, and you have to save because a 4v4 B retake is essentially unnegotiable. One thing to highlight about this B take though, keep this in the back of your mind for a few minutes from now. Look at the utility from Falcons. Molly's backside, layering flashes, door smoke, lurk smoke, everything you'd want on a standard B execute. That's going to be important. The very next round, with Falcons threatening match point and a third map on Ancient, once again, they're going to maneuver their way towards a B execute. Once again, Zweih is going to stand up all right to the task, but ultimately only get 1 pick before going down. The difference this round, instead of Chopper in mid, it's Zyro in mid, and because the B door smoke is late from Falcons, which I'm not really sure if that's meant to be, but it just ended up being late, Zyro's able to get a pick on Nico, get a second with a nade on a very chipped Munisi, and then a third on the retake thereafter. So Zyro, with the Zweih support, Zweih doing his job to getting 1 pick before he goes down, was enough to fend off Falcons off match point. But hey, they got a lot of chances, so you would assume Falcons were able to convert at least 1, right? Right? Frankly, it's contributions from all over Spirit that denied these string of rounds from the Falcons. You have Zyro, who not only gets a 3k on this round, gets a 4k on the very next one. There's a very important triple kill from Chopper that we have to talk about. This was a situation where Chopper only has 1 kill to this point in the game, and Falcons are being down on him. We're into this late cat split. Chopper has to at least get 1. He makes a dog breakfast of the first fight at the top of Goose, but with the smoke on site, he's able to get that pick, disappear into the smoke, and stay alive. Meanwhile, Nico's kind of tearing apart Spirit on the flank through long. We eventually find ourselves in a situation where Tess has to stuck Gandalf, Nico is stuck long, Donk is rotating from B with an op, just missed a shot on Nico, so Nico's going back towards long, and Chopper is stuck on the A bomb site, tucked and waiting to see what happens. Chopper, Nico, and Tessas are all low health. This is a situation that can easily go either team's way. What's going to happen here is Chopper's going to very mindfully position behind the spam box on site and eventually cast Tessas on a swing as Tessas is feeling the pressure from a pinch from Donk on Catwalk. So now we find Nico in a 1v2. Nico, I think, gets very lucky here in the fact that Donk is on the op. As well, Donk is definitely a good opper. He would be more lethal with an AK in this situation, so Nico's able to jiggle peek, bait out a miss, and then cleanly one-tap Donk. Pause. I don't think upon reflection that Nico really choked here, even though people are going to be quick to assume that. This is a difficult 1v1 to navigate, despite Chopper being low health. 1, Nico can't know how low Chopper is, and 2, wildly spraying into the box could actually put himself at risk. Nico, I think, navigates positioning to Chopper well, he just kind of misjudges his jiggle peek. He jiggle peeks him, sees him goose, but doesn't shoot. He re-jiggles into Chopper's spray. If he just jiggled once shot, he probably wins the clutch, and we're looking at Nico as like, whoa, he's having this great game, he's leading the team, Munsi and Kiosuke are struggling, but there's Nico, clutch as ever, leading his team into this third map, match point, they probably go to Ancient. Instead, he drops this fumble to Chopper, who gets 3 kills to add on to his total for 4 kills in the game so far, but they were 3 of the most important ones. Anyways, we work our way into a 10-11 scoreline off the back of a Falcons kind of get me over force buy, where once again they're trying to go B. Spirit had made a great adjustment at this point in the game, recognizing that Falcons want to lean on and try and push into Zweih. Donk is now hedging towards B more often, and there'll be quite a few rounds throughout the end of the game from now on, where it's Donk and Zweih working the 2-man game on this side of the map. Here, Zweih holds up really well into the pistols, a good 3k, Donk takes a pick towards mid, and they clean it up very nicely. Now we get into a round that I thought I was going to be fucking screaming over if this managed to cause Spirit to not only lose the map, but lose the series thereafter. It's 10-11. What are you guys going to do here? Spirit are going to get classically aggressive in mid, something Donk loves to do. Donk's going to push all the way up to the top of mid on barrels. Zyro's going to push into lower tunnels and hold it with an op. That's fine. Donk gets into a messy but ultimately successful gunfight against Nico. We then quick cut to Kicksand in tunnels, who takes care of Zweih, meaning the B bomb site is now wide open. Zyro in lower tunnels now has an excellent opportunity because of his intel and his positioning. He walks up the lower tunnel stairs and misses a wide open, back to him, easy brokey caliber shot on the bomb carrier. A shot that probably ends the round right there, if I'm being totally honest, because the bomb's stranded, they gotta deal with Zyro, time is gonna become a factor, the rotate's gonna become a factor. If Kicksand dies here, holy fuck, is it so painful. But Zyro, swing and a miss, goes down to Munisi, Tessas on the flank through long, him and Kiosuke get a pick and get traded out, Donk found himself with 3 kills, needing the ace to win the round and tie the game, and while Donk is extraordinary and one of the best players ever, even this one was just outside of his wheelhouse, giving Falcons match point. Their first attempt at ending the game from the Falcons, they're going to go for a late mid to B split. Spirit is here, they're ready. Donk in the B bomb site with Zweih with the op in his hands is going to stand at window and get a sick double kill onto Kickstand and Testas before going down, and then Zweih in the back of the bomb site is going to survive and do enough damage to make this round essentially impossible for the Falcons to win. Zweih, once again, despite having a 4-11 start, has just been rock solid in this B defense, and it only gets better from here. I did a dedicated YouTube short like 30 minutes after the game ended about this round, but it's the last round of regulation. Falcons, they don't have a whole lot of utility, but once again, they decided they're going to stake their claim on getting rid of Zweih and getting the B bomb site. Because again, if you can get the B bomb site control, that retake is almost 100% in your favor, so it makes sense. But as I highlighted in that YouTube short, just to summarize the issues here, they don't have enough utility, and what little they did, they use in a very weird way. Because ultimately, Zweih is going to get unbothered in the back of the B bomb site. The only utility Falcons are going to use is a lurk smoke. They're not going to use either of their other smokes to take care of door or window, so when Nico gets capped by Zweih in the back of the bomb site, there's no molly to pressure him, no flash to pressure him, and most importantly, they don't have to worry about Zyro in the door with the op, so that means they can't swarm Zweih. So Zweih, in effect, is allowed to just get whatever 1v1 he wants en route to his second ace of the game, the ace that forces overtime, and the ace that broke Falcons back. From a 4-11 start across overtime, Zweih would get 18 kills on the CT side. He would end with 22 kills, 20 deaths, and a 1.27 rating. Donk would go for a 30 bomb, 30 and 16 with a 1.62 rating. Over on the other side, Nico would try valiantly, leading the charge for Falcons, going 22 and 20 himself with a 1.21 rating, but Munisi and Kioske were just okay at best. They did not have the impact you would want out of these young star players. They get clean swept in overtime, with Spirit riding the momentum of that Zweih ace straight into a semi-finals matchup against Vitality. Falcons have fallen short yet again on honestly what might be one of their most winnable chances to get a major possible with how open and how competitive this field is. I have no idea what's next for this Falcons core, because despite the fact that at every other turn except for the biggest moments, they look like one of the best teams in the world. But paradoxically, this team full of star power shines the least when the lights are the brightest. And I don't know how you fix that. If it's a culture problem, a coach problem, an IGL problem, is it a more firepower problem? I have no idea. But consistently, Falcons do not meet the moment, despite the fact that they are good 95% of the time in every other match. For Spirit, who knows if this Zweih performance will be reproducible, but at least in this moment, Zweih has shown the caliber of player he can be, almost in a Jacob-esque fashion. I hope he can find some consistency, because when he plays good, he is damn fun to watch. And today, he wasn't just good, he was amazing alongside Donk to get them this victory. And looking forward to our other matchup, we have Vitality versus Mongolz. And we're gonna keep this short. Vitality breezed Mongolz out of the server. It was not competitive whatsoever. It was 13-5 on Mirage, 13-4 on Dust 2. I'm not going to bore you guys with the details. Controlas could not meet the moment. Senzu would have made this a more competitive series, but at the end of the day, all they could do was try, while the overwhelming might of Vitality collapsed on top of them. So that aside, I can't help but be excited for the fact that in the semifinals, we get Donk and Zywo at the peak of their powers, fighting for a major grand final spot. I'm going to make a NBA comparison because I'm a big basketball head. In the 2009 season, right before LeBron would take his talents over to South Beach to play for the Miami Heat, he took the Cleveland Cavaliers the farthest they would go until his second return in the playoffs. There, he would battle against and ultimately lose to a very good Orlando Magic team with Dwight Howard at the helm. If LeBron had managed to win that series and will that Cleveland team to the NBA Finals, he would have played Kobe Bryant and Pau Gasol in the 2009 Finals. This would have been one of the only, actually I think the only time in their careers that Kobe and LeBron would meet each other in the playoffs. Would have been at their absolute peaks, at least LeBron, his athletic peak, even though you could argue he was better as a player later on, 2012 Miami Heat, 2018 Cavaliers, whatever, I don't want to get into the nuance here. The point is, it would have been MVP caliber LeBron going against MVP caliber Kobe Bryant. While Kobe Bryant, a little bit older, a little bit past his athletic prime, but still very much at the peak of his powers as a scorer. That would have been one of the best series in the history of the NBA, and we fell just one game short of seeing that happen. So, to bring this back to Counter-Strike, you have Zyro, seasoned at this point in his career, been a top player for many, many years, but still absolutely at the peak of his powers as one of the very best players, not only in this game, but one of the best talents Counter-Strike has ever produced. And then you have Donk, this freak of nature, who is already this far into his career, easily one of the most gifted mechanical talents to not only play Counter-Strike, but maybe any esport. You have a freak of nature in Donk, a prodigy in Zyro, who are going to play for a chance to go to the major grand finals at the absolute fucking peak of their powers. We do not get that often in sports. That is a special, special opportunity that I hope will only produce some of the finest Counter-Strike we could possibly see. Donk versus Zyro is one of those matchups that every time it happens, we should treasure that rare opportunity, because so often in sports, you don't get to see generational, some of the best players of all time play each other when they are relevant on winning teams and contending for titles. And that means we are spoiled as Counter-Strike fans with this semifinal outcome. How will it play out? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. If you guys enjoyed this content, you should leave a like, leave a comment down below, subscribe to the channel already, help me get on that road to 20k subs by the end of next year, and make sure to hype the video if you're on mobile. Thank you to our channel members. You guys know who you are. I'm tired, so I'm just going to get through today. If you want to become a channel member, you can do so for $5 a month. Support me directly. Normally, you can see any of the videos just like this, as well as a custom owner community Discord. Follow me on JesseTiv/LionHeartZ2. I'll see you guys soon with another video. Peace.